Welcome back. Now, Shoprite has released its annual SA Food Security Index. And on this World Food Day, the index notes a marginal improvement in food security in the country over the last year in all provinces except the Eastern Cape. The improvement comes on the back of lower food inflation, with more households satisfied with the diversity in their diets. But overall, food insecurity is still at its worst level in over a decade. Dieter von Fintel, co-author of Shoprite's Food Security Index report, joins us with greater perspective on the findings of the index. Dieter, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. And let's start there, right? A slight recovery over the past year. As we get started, just walk us through some of those drivers behind the improvement. I did mention there we did see lower inflation over the period.
Yes, so that's really the key driver. The fact that inflation was quite serious from the COVID pandemic and moving into the Ukraine war. And we've seen a massive recovery with food inflation coming down quite substantially leading into 2024, which means that there's greater stability in food markets and consumers have some respite in terms of what they can afford. This then reflects in the fact that hunger has remained stable, and it also means that households are satisfied with the kinds of foods that they can consume, or at least a bit more satisfied than they used to be.
And, you know, interestingly, you touched on what we saw before COVID and what we were seeing post-COVID. And I noticed that levels are still far below levels seen in 2019. Of course, does it speak to, I guess, maybe households not completely recovering from the impact of COVID? And perhaps what structural issues are holding food security back?
So here I would definitely have to say we need to look at how households can afford food. And this comes down to jobs and whether households are actually receiving the income that they need to buy a healthy food basket. And the fact that our labor market hasn't fully recovered or is not in a good position, the unemployment rate still climbing, means that this is why households are under really severe pressure to put food on the table, especially to put healthy food on the table.
And, you know, we're currently dealing with FMD that's contributed to higher beef prices. Surely the unexpected price hike then also weighs on dietary diversity, which was also one of the issues that was highlighted in the report. I mean, nearly 1 in 5 households lack dietary diversity. Of course, another issue around affordability, right?
Yes, that's quite correct. So you mentioned meat particularly. This is one of the first things that disappears from diets when you get a shock like foot and mouth disease. And this can be a real problem when there's a price pressure along a specific food type. This also means that there's exposure to, especially if we're importing particular kinds of foods, that if there's international shocks, that also filters down through into prices and means that diet diversity does get influenced along that dimension. Because when households are under pressure, they go for the most affordable food first.
Now, Shoprite has become deeply associated with affordable food access, Dieter. How does the company balance, I guess, low prices with profitability and sustainability?
So I must first of all say that I'm not a representative of Shoprite. I'm an independent researcher. I need to make that very clear. But the one thing that I can comment on is to observe that Shoprite has, in line with the inflationary trends which we've seen nationally and internationally, Shoprite has kept pace. If you look at a piece written by Wandile Sihlobo yesterday in the Business Day, it does suggest that South Africa's food prices are very favorable compared to international, so that I do think that a lot of our retailers are falling in line with international trends.
All right, Dieter, thanks so much for your time and just taking us through some of the insights of that report. That was Dieter von Fintel, co-author of Shoprite's Food Security Index report.